about the most ignorant stuff I done seen in here in a long time. Sit down. Sit down.
Dealing with lies, bickering, and just plain stupidity on some occasions. Sometimes things just get to be too much for even Judge Lauren Lake. During the show's long run, we've seen many moments where Judge Lauren unleashes her fury. So in today's episode, we're talking about some of the top moments where Judge Lauren got furious. Lopez v. Carbajal. We're kicking off this list with the case of Miss Lopez, who claims that the defendant committed a DNA scam to avoid fathering her children. In her statement, she says,
You are here today because you claim the defendant, Mr. Carbajal, allegedly perpetuated a DNA testing scam to try to deny paternity of your kids. You say you're tired of struggling daily to take care of your children alone, and you need to prove he's their biological father.
On the other hand, Mr. Horatio Carbajal says that Miss Lopez ruined his life by falsely claiming that he's the father of her children. He says,
Mr. Carbajal, you say the plaintiff has left your life in ruins.
Yes.
By fraudulently claiming you are the father of her children, you argue that you did not perpetrate a DNA testing scam and are here today to prove it.
As the case builds up, we find out why Mr. Carbajal believes that the children aren't his. He says,
You have an issue regarding the fact that he has a cleft lip.
Yeah.
You say no one in your family's ever been born
No,
with
none
that.
of my
So
mom's
so
side
you
or
believe
father's
he's not
side.
yours.
the defendant also talks about how Miss Lopez sent him a picture where another man was holding the baby she claims is the defendant's. The judge then asks Miss Lopez,
And she
Then
was
hold
pregnant.
on. So
with Noah
Miss
at the time.
Lopez,
And
Miss
that-
Lopez, you sent him a picture
I sent him a picture to
of
show.
Why
someone
would you
else
send him-
holding a child that you said was his?
I sent it because to show him that there would be another man,
Why would it-
possibly,
why would it be another man?
possibly,
Why would it
okay,
be another man?
possibly to man up and take care of his responsibilities.
things became even more complicated when Mr. Carbajal's sister told the judge this.
Hold on, Miss Carbajal, let me understand what you just stating. State it again.
When this picture was sent, it was probably she was pregnant already. And this guy looks exactly like Noah.
Your Honor, I was already pregnant with
It's a
my
big,
son when my
dark
daughter
man
was holding.
and-
Horatio adds to his sister's statement saying,
She said she
And
got
the-
pregnant in November when I seen her in December.
I was not pregnant in November,
Yes, you
okay?
were.
I
Yes,
did not
you
do
were.
She came to
nothing with
visit.
nobody.
She came to
So
visit
you
to my
believe
house.
she was already pregnant?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
No.
Were you intimate with anyone else?
No, Your Honor, I was not.
After some more drama and arguing, Judge Lauren presented the results of the DNA lab test reports, which read,
When it comes to 2-year-old Aliana Lopez Carbajal, Mr. Carbajal, you are not her father.
but the results weren't enough to satisfy Miss Lopez. She still continued to lie and argue about the results of the home DNA test that was done before. The judge goes off on Miss Lopez.
There's no way.
You're just
that-
looking for something to argue about. You're just looking for something to say. What you need to be talking about is that lie you told saying you weren't sleeping with nobody else. But suddenly, on the relevant subjects, we're silent.
Miss Lopez then finally confesses to having intimate relations with another guy when she was with Horatio. Judge Lauren calls her out on her lies and says,
Tina.
Ms. Lopez,
Yes.
you stood in this courtroom and lied. You lied.
You ruined my brother's life.
She ruined my life.
You know you lied. And you know what? I knew you was a lie.
the judge continued saying,
But I couldn't take this home test they performed as evidence
They're also true.
because it did not have certain pieces to the evidence that I would need to show that it was valid. So I had to give you the benefit of the doubt. But you kept and but every time I would ask you a question, you didn't really have a great answer.
Judge Lauren was boiling over with rage at Miss Lopez for not just her lies standing in court, but also for her attempts at trying to ruin the defendant's life. She says,
It's one thing that you lied. It's another thing that you sat up in here and lied in court. You stood there and tried to make their entire family look like they were the people that were wrong when you knew, even if your mother didn't know, you knew you were the one that was wrong.
Miss Lopez begins breaking down, but the judge isn't having any of it. She continues to reprimand the plaintiff, saying,
Because this has got to be a learning day for you. Because you can lie only for so long, honey. There's a phrase say, if it don't come out in the wash, it's coming out in the what? The
Loose as
dry.
a goose.
It's going to come out eventually.
when Miss Lopez attempts to counter Mr. Carvajal's jabs at her, the judge says,
He keeps talking to me. I do not want to hear him. I really don't.
But can you understand why he's mad?
Yes, I do.
If you put me in that position, I would have a few things to say to you too.
Morris v. Thorpe. This case starts off with Mr. Morris claiming that he's the true father of one of Miss Thorpe's twins, but not the other. According to Mr. Morris' statement,
You're here because you say certain facts have come to light that make you believe that you fathered one of Miss Thorpe's twins and not the other. You claim a botched home DNA test separated you from your daughter, London, and you intend to rectify that issue today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
however, the mother, Imani Thorpe, calls it all baloney and says that Mr. Morris is the true father of both her twins, Paris and London. Miss Thorpe says,
You say Mr. Morris's claim is ridiculous and that he very clearly fathered both of your twins, Paris and London. And you say Mr. Morris's efforts to go behind your back blew up in his face and you intend to clean up his mess.
As the case gets underway, things come to light about Mr. Morris and his claims. Miss Thorpe talks about how Mr. Morris posted the results of his DNA test online, where he said,
He posted all over social media and told everybody that the DNA test came back and that the kids were not his.
but that's not all he did.
Did you also post, Mr. Morris, that you didn't do the test properly?
No.
I know you didn't.
This mess of a case somehow, though, kept getting messier. When Judge Lauren asked Mr. Morris what his relationship was with the children now, he said,
What kind of relationship do you have with the twins now?
Great?
They call you daddy?
No.
They're 4.
They call me Uncle Twan.
Everyone in the courtroom pulled back at that response. The judge was just about done with Mr. Morris and asked,
Boy, you about crazy. You just got too much going on. You done gone through all this only for the children and now call you Uncle Twan?
I didn't tell him to.
Oh, you told him to, Miss Thorpe?
No, Your Honor. They just developed that because he's been around since day one. So
Miss Thorpe continued,
they asked was Twan their dad, but I told him no.
This is a mess.
The judge had had enough at this point with both of them. She went off on a rant.
You all should be ashamed. These babies 4 years old sitting up. Really? To be 4 years old and have to sit up and ask 2 grown adults, is somebody my daddy? Baby's got more sense than the mama and the daddy.
The judge then point-blank asked Miss Thorpe why she told her children that Mr. Morris was not their father, when that's what this whole case was about. Miss Imani gave the most shocking reply.
Because we wasn't for sure at the time. I didn't want
So
to
you
tell
aren't
anyone's
sure?
father.
You aren't sure?
I mean, at the time, I didn't feel like I was sure, so I didn't want to have them call. And then he wasn't even around.
So wait a minute,
so
who else could be their dad?
the other guy that I was talking
So you really don't know if he's the dad or not?
I feel like he is.
The judge is infuriated at this point, and rightfully so. She goes off saying,
You all just been circling around this doubt, circling around this dysfunction, circling around all of this confusion. Trying to raise these babies? What's that little game you play when you little? What's that one where the music play and you just be running around? Musical chairs.
Musical chairs.
That's what it feels like.
she keeps going off on both of them, saying,
Like you all just running around and then when the music stops, y'all just jump to a conclusion at work. Just jump down on it and sit down on that for a while. Then the music play and you all just get back running around again. One of them might be calling their daddy Uncle Twan.
Renfro v. Tuzzi. Our final entry, we've got the case of Renfro v. Tuzzi, where the plaintiff, Miss Renfro, claims that the defendant is the true father of her 6-month-old child, Kendall. Her statement reads,
You claim you are 100% certain that the defendant is the father of your 6-month-old son, Kendall. You say Kendall was born with a serious medical condition and believe it was genetically passed down by the defendant. And that's why today's paternity results are critical. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Tuzzi, though, denies the plaintiff's claims and believes for sure that he is not the father of the child. As the case opens up, Judge Lake asks Ms. Renfro if she had any relations with somebody else at the time of her child's conception. Ms. Renfro says,
Were you intimate with anybody else during the window of time when Kendall was conceived?
No, Your Honor.
Are you sure of that?
Yes, I'm 100% sure. I know who my kids belong to. I don't just lay down with everybody. I don't sleep with everybody unprotected. And when I do have sex with people...
Now, why would you have another guy signing the birth certificate?
Things heated up quickly as soon as Mr. Tuzzi opened up this giant can of worms. The judge then asked Ms. Renfro to go into detail about what the defendant just said. She replies,
That was
Hold on,
his
so Ms.
decision.
Renfro, you had another person sign the birth certificate?
My ex. My ex signed the birth certificate. He's still in my child's life. He still takes my son to the doctors.
Is your ex in the child's life because he could potentially be the biological father as well?
No, he loves my son.
Now it was finally time for the DNA lab test results to come out, and that's when things took a turn.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Tuzzi, you are not the father.
Oops.
Told you!
Oops.
Calm down, Mr.
Calm down.
Tuzzi. Calm down.
Mr. Tuzzi pumps his fists and starts exclaiming with joy after hearing the results. The judge gets him to settle down as this isn't the time or the place. She then turns towards Ms. Renfro and asks,
Ms. Renfro,
Yes, ma'am.
that's not your child's biological father.
That's fine. That is fine. I'm okay with that.
Do you know who is?
Yes, ma'am. If he wasn't the father, then yes, ma'am, I know.
Hold on. No.
You asked, I answered.
shocked at her reply. The judge boils over with rage at Miss Renfro for lying to everybody in court under oath.
Because you got a smart mouth, but you're not smart enough to know when you're lying. Sitting up trying to pin a baby on a man. Hold on, I'm talking now.
Miss Renfro shrugs off the results like they didn't mean anything. The judge, though, is not having it. She continues giving Miss Renfro an earful.
Because you were so dramatic about how Mr. Tuzzi had never done anything. Oh, and you cried. Hold on. You cried yourself a river in this courtroom, baby. All the time, never testifying to the whole truth. And that's wrong. And that's what you need to change in this moment.
The plaintiff keeps smirking and acting like she wasn't in the wrong, despite her lying. But the judge couldn't care less about how she feels.
All that smirking and all that little smart mouth nonsense, you know where it got you? It got you where you don't know definitively who your child's biological father is. And if you do know who he is, you set up and wasted everybody else's time.
No, I didn't waste nobody's time.
No. Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Okay.
You can run your mouth all you want, but your jig is up.
Well, that's all we have for this episode. If you liked the video, leave us a thumbs up. Also, let us know in the comments what your most memorable moments have been of Judge Lauren's fury on paternity court, and if we missed any of your favorites. Until next time.